Coach, in a previous media session, you mentioned Ryan Miner. Um, Ryan passed away a few days ago. Just your thoughts on him and what he meant to you.
Well, when I got to Oklahoma, um, there was no transfer portal, or when you get a job in the month of April, most of the recruiting is done. So it's kind of like here, you kind of whatever you inherit, you inherit. You do the best you can with it. But um, I inherited a guy that was going to be the best player in one of the best conferences in America. Of course, that was the old Big Eight back then. Um, my favorite Ryan Miner story is I think I kicked him out of practice, and we came back the next morning, and facilities, you know, it was it was the mid '90s. Oklahoma, um, was set up for football, obviously. Um, but down at the Lloyd Noble Center, I think it was a equipment room. We turned into a film room, and they put a big whiteboard on the board, and the players just sit in a regular desk. And I did a strengths and weaknesses session with them. I asked them what they thought their strengths were, and I asked them what they thought their weaknesses were. Now, I didn't see Ryan in the summer because he might have been at Cape Cod playing in one of those professional baseball leagues. Um, and then in the fall, they had some fall baseball, and the baseball coach and I, Larry Koshel, had a plan in place to use for Ryan, and I basically just listened. Um, I was a new guy, and whatever system they had in place, I was fine. I was going to be fine with it. But I didn't know how good Ryan was. So I once we started practice in October is when I found out how good he was. But this particular day, I was at the board, and I had this kid named Calvin Curry who passed away last year. Outstanding player from Ventura Junior College, played for a great coach and Phil Matthews out there. I said, Calvin, what do you think is one of the strengths of our team? Uh, Classic Calvin Curry. He said, my jumper. So, okay, okay. That's a problem because the jumper wasn't going in very much, but okay. And then, I let everybody have a say. And then I went to the weaknesses, and, you know, I didn't realize it was that good because they didn't have many weaknesses. So I just jumped in for him and said, well, here's what I think your weaknesses are. And I came up with a pretty long list. And then after it was all over, this is a true story, I erased everything. And I wrote Ryan Miner. I said, that's our strength. We have to have somebody we can play through. Now, that upset some of those guys, but uh, I knew eventually they'd get over it. But Ryan was a one of a kind. I've been head coach now for 35 years. At all three levels, he's the best offensive player in college that I've ever coached. And I've had multiple first-round picks, two lottery picks, but I've never had a kid that could score behind the three-point line in that extended elbow area or anywhere around the block like Ryan. He was a natural. When he got picked by the 76ers, Ryan kind of had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, baseball and basketball, because he was so good in both. It's unique that year. The first pick in the draft was Allen Iverson. The 31st pick was Mark Hendrickson, who I recruited to Washington State, who also played Major League Baseball. Got drafted by Philadelphia. Then the 32nd pick was Ryan Miner, two of my guys. Had Ryan decided to play basketball, he would have had a 12 to 14 year career. He was really talented. 30, he could drop 30 just about anybody. Just very gifted. Great kid, great family, loved his mother and father. His twin brother Damon. They played, Damon played for the San Francisco Giants, Ryan for the Baltimore Orioles, and the old Montreal Expos. So that was a special family, man.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning, Joseph.
Kelvin, just wanted to get with you before you guys left for disbanded for the Christmas break. You had mentioned the importance of the next few days in terms of getting the guys some rest and stuff. I know you haven't really jumped into a lot this week, but can you kind of talk about what that importance is, maybe with J1 and moving forward and getting a guy like him some rest going into January here?
Yeah, we met yesterday at 4. And no surprise, all these guys were down in the gym at 3 something. A little after 3, I looked down. A couple of them had some traffic issues driving in from Dallas or wherever, Cordell Jefferson, but most of them were here. I had J1 texts me just about every day about something. Most of the time it's about Reggie Chaney. We talked a lot about Reggie over with Ryan Miner, Reggie. I had a kid that played for me in Indiana named Jamarcus Ellis, who was a special kid. He passed away about a month ago. My sister, 2023 has been a tough year as far as all that stuff's concerned. But it really hits a guy like J1 because J1 he's a special guy. He's very sensitive. He's very loving. He's very caring. He's very much a giver in a world of takers. J1 stands out. But yesterday he was doing stuff until we just pulled him off. Sometimes we have to save J1 from himself. But all our guys were there. We went pretty hard last night. Some of this stuff, it just doesn't make any sense for J1 to do. And sometimes, the coach has to be the adult in the room, right? J1, sit out. You don't need to be doing this. I've had that kid for 5 years now. I know what he can do. He doesn't need to be doing all that running stuff. And that's why we have an Alter G, which, takes the pressure off your joints, where you're basically running on air. You're still getting your cardio, but it helps you not put pressure on your joints by running on a hardwood floor.
Yeah, but if I could follow up with J1, there's the practice element of what you can sort of dial back on as need be. In terms of games early on, do you put him on a minutes restriction, or do you just see how game to game, week to week he feels?
Yeah, I'm not much on a minutes restriction, or what's the other thing they say when they give guys time off? What is that called?
Load management.
Huh?
Load management.
Yeah, I'm not much of a load management or restriction. You can play. You can't. It ain't real complicated.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go back to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, what type of style or offense, defense does Penn present, their strengths, weaknesses, et cetera?
Coach Donahue, who had that great run at Cornell a few years back, they spread you out. They've got a better scoring Fiedler at center. He's behind the back. He's fun to watch. He's about 6'9", 240. Can pass it, can score it. Is clever with how he handles the ball. Their best players, their point guard, Slaggert, 6'1", averaged about 19 points a game. I watched him. They beat Villanova. They're down 3 late to Kentucky. It's exactly the kind of team you don't want to play after the break. But it's also a great challenge for us because of the style. Every team has an identity. Some of these these teams are much better teams than they are when they play us, because of our defense may be able to take shut down whatever it is they do good, but this team will be a challenge because they put 4 3-point shooters on the court. They space the floor. They're hard to guard. They don't play traditional offense. They back cuts. It's that Ivy League stuff. A lot of people started copying Pete Carrill when he was at Princeton, and they don't play exactly like that, but they play through their 5-man. You can play through your 5-man, and you got a point guard they got 2 guys. A good friend of mine who was the coach for the 76ers, he's now assistant for Pop San Antonio, Brett Brown. His son's their starting 2 guard. I think he's averaging 3 or 4 made threes a game over his last 3 or 4 games. Left-hander, can really, really shoot it. All of them. They shoot threes, man. They're good at how they get it. They run 2 or 3 actions, but they got a really good 5-man, and they got a bunch of snipers and an outstanding senior point guard.
We'll go back to Joseph Duarte. Go ahead, Joseph.
Kelvin, as your former players have gone off, whether in life or their professional careers, you've kept in touch with them, and they hit you up and talk. I was wondering, somebody like Marcus Sasser, have you had a chance to talk to him, or is there anything that you'd say when a guy goes through that with the team and what they're going through in Detroit with the long losing streak?
Yeah, I talked to Marcus Christmas Eve. I talked to a lot of our players Christmas Eve, former players, guys that you would know. I talked to one of my favorite players, Rizai Stone, who was on the University of Oklahoma Board of Regents, and he's off now. But talked to Rizai. He put me on speaker, and I spoke to it. He's got an 11-year-old, and he's coaching their basketball team. So I spoke to an 11-year-old basketball team from Oklahoma City this morning. But Marcus is, I texted a lot with him and Jairus and Quentin. I've talked to Quentin, talked to Jairus, talked to Marcus. They're all going through some challenges right now. And I said, what did you expect? You guys hear what I say in our meetings, that the last time you ever play on a team where they actually love you and they're excited for your success will be your last game you ever play in college. And that's the truth. Professional basketball is not college. In college, you play for each other. Andrew Bogut told me one time, I was getting on Andrew about something. He said, Coach, winning is what you get paid to do. For most of these guys, they have clauses in their contracts that they're trying to reach so they can get more money. So I'm not, there's teams that's got cultures, like Pop's teams when he had Tim and Manu and Tony and those guys. Steph Curry does not play for anything other than to win. Draymond Green's like that. Those guys are winners in Golden State. There's a lot of great, but there's a lot of the other stuff too, especially young teams that are losing. They'll start focusing on themselves. But Marcus has a lot of respect for Monty. He raves about Cade Cunningham. We've had some good conversations, and last thing he told me, he said, Coach Sam, you made me built for this. I'm built for this. I've been through a lot of adversity. I'll be okay. So I worry about him his first year, but at the same time, you get paid for this, man. Suck it up. You'll be all right.
Thank you, Joseph. Does anyone else have any questions before we go over to the TV crew? Everybody, Chris, you got another one? We'll go back to Chris here. We got time for 1 or 2 more here with Coach. Go ahead, Chris.
Coach, how was Christmas, you and the grandkids?
Awesome. So they spent Christmas Eve at my house. Now, Maisie's got a list of about 5 things that she wants Papa to do. She likes to play Santa, where she goes and throws all the pillows off my bed. She gets in bed and she makes out like she's asleep, right? And then I have to come in and put a toy under her pillow. Then I have to go out and wait about 30 seconds. Then I have to come in and do the ho, ho, ho things. And she wakes up with surprise. And I said, you got to see what Santa left you. So that's a go-to. Chase, you know, we've got a big house. So you can do a lap literally in the house. So her and Kylan start running, and somehow I can never catch them. Funny about that, isn't it? She's got about 4 or 5 go-tos. So once we started opening presents, Kylan, you could get him a can of soup with rocks in it, he'd be happy. But Maisie, she knows what those presents are now. So she got Christmas at Papa's house, Papa and Gigi. She calls Karen Gigi. She got Christmas at Papa and Gigi's house. And then Monday morning, Christmas morning, I went over to her house. And Kellen and Tanya had laid all their stuff out the night before. So she couldn't wait to show me. She couldn't wait to show me what she got. Of course, the big thing now is sleepovers. She and Kylan had a sleepover. So as soon as I got home last night, Kellen had a FaceTime call. Maisie said, Papa, today is the 26th. I'm going to have a sleep. And she gets her face right into the phone. I'm going to have a sleepover on the 28th. I'm coming to Papa's house on the 28th, okay? Somehow I wish they would never leave this age. I wish you could stay this age forever, but they're growing up. Kind of neat to be I love being a grandfather way more than I do being a coach. It's a lot more fun.
Thank you, Chris. We got time for one more question before the TV. We'll go to Joseph Duarte again. Go ahead, Joseph. Go ahead, Joseph. Pardon me.
Kelvin, you don't seem like you seem like a no assembly retired kind of guy. I don't think Kelvin's mastered that yet.
No, he hadn't figured that out.
But no, if I could go ahead.
Karen and I spent a lot of nights. Somehow I was always the guy that when I would assemble something would be missing. And it was a key part. They don't have it. And I would sit there and go, how do you get the lemon? So I got smart. Once I started making a little money, I grabbed one of those guys at the store. Look, my man, what if I give you a little bit extra to put this together and I'll come back tomorrow? He said, what you talking about? I said, what you talking about? So we come to a agreement, and I'd slip him a little something. Next thing you know, thing was done. I'm not an assemble guy. I bought a fan from Walmart one time and screwed it up. How do you screw a fan up? The thing is basically you put one thing on phone here, plug it in, boom, should be working, right? Nope, screwed up. I'm the worst guy ever at that stuff.
Well, I should end it on that, but my basketball related question was, as you talk about the different phases or stages in the season, you're about to end non-conference and going into conference. Can you kind of give us a brief assessment of where you think are you where you want to be, or do you feel like the guys have made the progress you'd like to see at this point?
Well, losing Terrence is a big hit. A month from now, people will forget about Terrence, but we never forget. We knew where he was with this team and the role he played. And it chews up into your depth. Where it really hurts you is in practice, because you just don't have guys that can do what he did. And he's playing the 4. When he was on the floor, our defense was different than J1 is at the floor. We have both of them have different responsibilities in our coverage calls. Like against Utah, Terrence was much more effective the way we guarded them with Terrence versus J1. And then probably by the first time out, I realized that we needed to change this. So J1 played some probably more 5 in that game, but Terrence was a real problem for them when he was at the 4. So having Terrence as a hit. Of course, I know how this injury thing works. Everybody feels bad for a couple of days, and a month from now, what's wrong with you guys? How come you're not winning? You know, but you can't trick the old guys with that stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're every team, every game that we've played going in, I thought we'd win every game that we played. We haven't played a team yet that I didn't expect to beat. But there's a lot of things that we need to work on our curveballs. Everybody that plays us knows what we're going to do. Sometimes it's what they're going to do. It's just not always easy to play against it, but you know what you're going to do. But that's not going to work in every game we play. We've got to have some off-speed pitch. Our heater is going to have some off nights. So the teams are going to figure it out, and they're going to have ways that they're going to beat us, and we're going to have to figure out how to counter some things. So we got to add some things in our toolbox that we can have. That's why, first couple of days back, I use basketball as a conditioner. I don't condition and then go to basketball. You combine the two. You use basketball as a conditioner. But today, we'll and our guys are in pretty good shape. I mean, I tried to hurt them last night and I couldn't. And that was a little bit surprising. But I think most of them were prepared for it because the older guys always tell the new guys what to expect. But we got some things we need to work on, Joseph. We're certainly not a finished product. We're still very much a work in progress, especially after Terrence went down. We've got to figure out some things, and right now I don't have the answers for everything. We just got to keep working at it.